Guys, welcome back to the Quirky Bootless Project. Yeah, it's just me today because yes, we're pretty unorganized here, but it's gonna be a fun one. I'm currently about to take a bath, but before that, I felt like it was my moral duty to film this episode because we're coming off the back of probably one of the most exciting match days of the season so far, especially as a Manchester United fan myself. And so today we're going to be talking about the Premier League season so far in general. It's not going to be a particularly long episode. It's going to be eventually when United does win. God knows when that will be. When United wins the Premier League, that's going to be a long episode and fairly biased. This one is just a short one, talking about catching up on the Premier League really, because this season has been, while not as insane as other seasons, pretty ridiculous because the Premier League pretty much always delivers. It is the best league in the world, and I will not hear any debate about that. It is also the most competitive league in the world, and it didn't feel like that for a very long time, and especially as a United fan, it hurt seeing Manchester City constantly win, seeing Liverpool constantly win. But since United is finally good and Liverpool are pretty bad. They're pretty dog shit right now. So I felt like this was the perfect time to record this episode. Obviously, City is above us, but you know what can you do? There's only so many times you're above Liverpool or City, and especially as a United fan, we've dealt with nothing but suffering for the last 3 years, 10 years. So there we go. That's why we're gonna be talking about the Premier League, and I feel like normally in episodes past, because we're in seasons past, sorry, we're what, about 20, 21 games into the season so far. Normally at this point I would not have been able to make this episode over the last 5 years, but since Arsenal is finally winning the league ahead of the likes of City and Liverpool, who are just spearheading the league and leaving everyone else behind, I feel like it's more fun to talk about. Now, as a non-Arsenal fan, I don't hate Arsenal, right? As a United fan, we do have a bit of beef with you, but I wasn't following back in 2004 when United and Arsenal's rivalry was at its heyday. I wasn't even born then. I didn't exist, and I wish I existed to my parents now. So Arsenal, finally a great team, and I feel like after all of their turmoil as Arsenal fans, they do deserve it. I wish it was United because we've been dealing with that shit too. I also feel like I don't understand why Arsenal is so good this season. They are currently first, and I feel like maybe it'd be fun for me to just go through every standing and just talk a little bit about every team that and where they are, and obviously get to a few big things that are going on otherwise. But since we Arsenal are first, I feel like I have to talk about them first. I don't understand why this team is so good. Honestly, when I watch Arsenal United, which by the way, we absolutely deserve to lose, I never felt that we were the worst team. I just felt like Arsenal were playing a different game altogether because in general, in terms of tactics, and in terms of the fact that they were pressing a lot harder than us in the last 5 minutes, they absolutely deserved that goal. I know the scoreline maybe doesn't reflect that. A late goal to win when 3-2 doesn't maybe reflect how actually dominant Arsenal were in the last 10 minutes. They had the ball in our half the entire time. And just like that, and just like in a lot of their games this season, they've played incredibly well with a team that on paper shouldn't be dominating the league like they are, because that's what they are. You may not see it, and obviously after their loss to Everton, which excites me as a United fan, even though they're 8 points above us, I still feel like I don't understand why this team is so good, because they beat Brighton, they've beaten Tottenham recently, they've beaten Chelsea, they spanked Nottingham Forest 5-0, they've beaten Liverpool, they've beaten Tottenham again, and they've pretty much held a chokehold on this league ever since what, match day 4, match day 5, and I don't think it's going to stop. And on paper, I don't understand why this team is particularly good, because their best player, I would say, is either Bukayo Saka or Martin Odegaard has been incredible this season. I feel like it's just their belief this year that they're actually going to win, because this is a team that screams third place or fourth place, and that's on a season where everything's going right. But they're winning all the games they should be winning, apart from the Everton game, obviously. But we're just gonna ignore the matches that just happened for just this current review. They've been better than the teams they need to be better than, and I feel like they've been winning important games against the big six, which makes them the most clutch team in the league. They've been doing everything right, and it's to the point where you're almost expecting them to slip up. And I don't think this is the Arsenal we're going to see next year either. But if it is, then we may actually have a new dominant leader next year as well. When you told me, if you told me at the start of the season that at the halfway line, past the halfway line of the season, Arsenal would be first and doing it comfortably, I would not have believed you. But it's pretty refreshing, and I'm glad it's not City, because Jesus Christ, that was getting boring. And yeah, good for Arsenal, man. Arsenal fans, you deserve it. I won't say you don't. You have been alongside Man United in the trenches for a very long time. I think this is an extremely talented team of young people, of young guys who, man, they have something to prove. Martin Odegaard signing of the season, and we'll get to the freak that is Erling Haaland soon. But honest, genuinely, just based on league position and based on how important Martin Odegaard has been for them all season, I'm gonna say he's the signing of the season so far. But since we have to talk about the freak, Manchester City in second place with an Erling Haaland who at match day 19 has already won what would have been the Golden Boot over the last 5 years. He's already gone past their goal tally with 25 goals. 25 goals in 21 matches for Manchester City. And I'm pretty sure he didn't even play one or two of those. I read an interesting take this week, and it could be the reason City are second. Uh, Erling Haaland, despite the goals he scores, makes Manchester City's team weaker. And it's a take that I've been thinking about for a bit at this point, because when I think about it, in the games where Erling Haaland has been anonymous, he's been extremely anonymous. And Manchester City have gone from the juggernauts that they were last year and the last 5 years, which is their ridiculous offense of Kevin De Bruyne, Sergio Aguero, Leroy Sané. They've been the most complete attack in the league for a very long time. But now I feel like a lot of their attack is just Kevin De Bruyne to Erling Haaland, and then Erling Haaland, either if he's on one of the days where he just decides to be a cheat code, he scores. If not, he's pretty invisible throughout. And I don't completely agree with the take that he makes Manchester City's team weaker, because 25 goals is ridiculous. But now that it's happening more often, like in the first 15 games of the season, you couldn't have said that because Erling Haaland was scoring in every game. But now that he's been pretty anonymous, and for the games that he isn't scoring goals, he's being anonymous. So it's like it's either the best or the worst version of Erling Haaland you can get. And so with that, I feel like there is an argument that can be made that since City's offense has become pretty one directional, it's it does actively make their team worse. And I feel like that's something that Pep has to fix, because over the last few games, and they lost to Tottenham 1-0. Erling Haaland was invisible once more. Then he played against Wolves. He scored two. He scored three. He scored a hat trick. Manchester City versus very recent game against Tottenham. They won 4-2. Haaland scored in that match too. Then they played United, and I watched that match live. Erling Haaland was pretty shocking throughout. He was pretty quiet. Then against Chelsea, Everton, Leeds, Manchester City have been inconsistent this season, because when Erling Haaland plays, they win when he plays well, and when he doesn't, they lose. And I feel like that inconsistency is what new to City, because over the last 5 years they haven't had that, and now they finally do. And I think that's what's in second. That's what put them in second, because Arsenal have been ridiculously on form this season, and I don't think that's going to stop. Whereas with City, you can never trust that they're going to be the best City or the best team in the league or in the world, for that matter. Speaking of teams in ridiculous form, though, my Manchester United. Call this a bias. I truly could not give less of a shit. Manchester United are officially back. And you could have said this when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer came in. You could have said this with any of the new managers, because Man United has the tendency to play really well for the first few games of any new manager, and then they just start tanking again. I feel like that's different with Eric Ten Hag. Something is different about this man. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, pretty inexperienced. We didn't know much about him, but he won us our what for our first 13 games of the season, and we thought, yeah, this is the Man United of old. With this Man United, I feel like we've made ridiculously good transfers. Casemiro, which is not great timing right now because he just got suspended for 3 games, but still has been arguably another and absolutely another candidate for signing of the season. I feel like Manchester United are going to be perennial powerhouses in a few years because with this team, with Marcus Rashford playing the way he is, and that's another MVP of the season so far. He's on song. He scored what 12 goals in the last 11 games. He's gotten his confidence back. I feel like once we get a complete striker in the summer, Harry Kane, please come, please come. We love you. We like you, Harry Kane. Please come to us. Uh, I feel like that's a Man United that can genuinely make a threat. Obviously, they're not entirely complete yet, but I feel like with a bit of time and just the meme, let him cook. That's the best way to sum up Man United season. Let Eric Ten Hag cook. And I mean, now we move on to one that's both depressing and kind of refreshing. Newcastle. Honestly, they haven't made any huge signings, like big names. So it doesn't really make sense how they're above Liverpool, above Chelsea, above Tottenham, and not even like they're if they win their game, because Tottenham played 1 game more, if they win that game, they'll be 4 points ahead of Tottenham, which is not bad at all, and they'll be 1 point ahead of United despite having played 1 game more. So this Newcastle team, again, they've been winning the games they're supposed to be winning. It's not a ridiculous team by any measure, but they've been grinding out draws whenever they needed to. They've been grinding out tough wins against the likes of Fulham, who've also been ridiculously good. And even with Newcastle, their team against Fulham in that win was Joe Linton, Callum Wilson, Miguel Almiron, Sean Longstaff, I believe. Yeah, Sean Longstaff, Bruno Guimaraes, Joe Willock, Dan Burns, Sven Botman, Fabian Schär, Kieran Trippier, and Nick Pope. No names pop off that page and make you say, okay, that's a world-class player. It makes sense that they're fourth. It's just an all-around balanced enough squad, and with a good manager who's actually, honestly, not the best manager, but a manager that's doing the job in anyhow. I feel like this Newcastle team, I don't think this is a one season thing since they do have the money now. Once they make a few more huge signings, I think they could genuinely be a new threat to the Premier League title, which is refreshing, but unfortunately it came with oil money, so it's less refreshing. In fifth place, and I'm going to speed through the rest of these because there's 20 teams to talk about. Tottenham Hotspur, very good team. Just beat Manchester City, which is awesome because I'm a Man United fan and for no other reason apart from the fact that now we're closer to City. If we finish second, I would call that progress. Tottenham have been quite good. Harry Kane just broke the all-time Tottenham record, which is pretty cool. Please come to United. Please, we love you, Harry Kane. We love you so much. Come to United. We need you. And since this isn't a team that should be winning the league. I think fifth place is a perfect place for Tottenham. I think they should be making a run into the top four. I feel like that's their ceiling for now. But if they get into form like Arsenal did, they have all the keys to getting to the top of the league and or at least challenging. But since it's Tottenham, they're obviously not going to win. Tottenham fans who listen to the Quirky Bootless Project, we love you too. Please don't leave us. Yeah, I feel like this is their ceiling, and for this season at least, I think a third place finish would be their best case scenario. Champions League qualification would be pretty swell for them. I think they should focus on the season they have right now because I believe they're definitely still in the Champions League. They're definitely still in hunt for the top four. They're very close to Newcastle, and yeah, this team get a new goalkeeper by the way. Jesus Christ, Lugo Lloris, what are you doing? Brighton, Hove Albion, Brentford, and Fulham. Three teams that are in sixth, seventh, and eighth that I would not have expected I would expected those three teams to be making up the middle of the Premier League, but no, Brighton are in Europa League qualification, and Brentford and Fulham are very close to qualifying for the Conference League with competition from Chelsea and Liverpool for the Europa Conference League. Yeah, no, this world is broken. Brighton, ridiculous team this season. They're fun. Really fun to watch, and I think that starts with Roberto De Zerbi, who's been very good for them in every game that Brighton have showed up for. They have been the better team. And for a lot of those games, you can even say that they've had the best performance of that entire match day because their 3-0 win against Liverpool, they embarrassed Liverpool. Their 3-0, they beat them in the FA Cup too. Their win against Everton 4-1, they were absolutely the better team. And they even put up a very good fight against Arsenal. They beat United at the start of the season. They beat Chelsea 4-1. They've their issue, the reason Brighton are sixth and not maybe challenging for Europe, which would be ridiculous, is the fact that they haven't really been winning the games that you would expect a top four side to win. Because over the last few games, they've lost to Aston Villa. They've Actually, they haven't been bad. They've drawn against Leicester, which is a game you definitely should be winning with Leicester this season. They lost to City, which you can't really blame them for. They lost to Brentford. They drew against Nottingham Forest. They lost to Tottenham. They drew against Liverpool earlier in the year. So I feel like this is a Brighton team that is overperforming and could do even better if they win the games that they're supposed to be winning, like against Leicester, against the Nottingham Forest, against Brentford, who are challenging them for the Europa League qualification. That's a team that could be dangerous and could challenge for top four, which is fun. It's an exciting time to be a Premier League fan. Brentford and Fulham, again, two very exciting teams. I have a personal soft spot for Fulham because they're owned by Shahid Khan and Tony Khan also owns AEW, and I'm a big AEW fan because wrestling is fun and I integrated it into every episode and it's still fun. Uh, yeah, so Fulham, extremely good team. I feel like they're exciting, they're fast, and I don't think this is a team. I think this is their ceiling. I think six, seven, eight is a very good season for Fulham because 5 years ago you would have expected Fulham to be fighting for relegation. Instead, they're fighting for Europa Conference League qualification, which is great for them. And I feel like since they just beat Chelsea, they drew to Chelsea up before that. They beat Southampton. They narrowly lost to Man United. They narrowly lost to Manchester City. But this is a very good, exciting Fulham squad and good for them, honestly. I feel like having more competition in the Europa League and Europa Conference League games and spots is the most fun way for the Premier League to go because after that, Chelsea, Liverpool. This is going to be fun. The bottom 9, I'm not really going to talk much about because I'm going to spend some time talking about Chelsea. What are you guys doing? That what 348 million in just the January transfer window. They've 120 million for Enzo Fernandez. They've who 35 million for Malo Gusto, Noni Madueke for 35 million, Mikhailo Modric for 100 million, which I will never understand because you bought him based on YouTube compilations of skill moves. Bariashil, I don't know how to pronounce it, but that's a pretty good signing. For 37 million, might be overpaying a little bit, but that's a good signing. Fofana is a good signing. Trevor Chalobah contract extension a few months ago. That's all well and good, but Chelsea. What are you guys doing? They've in their last 5 games drawn to Fulham, drawn to Liverpool, one of the most boring games of all time. Beat Crystal Palace by 1 goal, lost to Fulham by 1 goal, lost to City by 1 goal, drew against Nottingham Forest, beat Bournemouth, lost to Newcastle. This is a team that does not know what they're doing, and they should be signing veterans right now on loan moves and figure their shit out until the summer. Instead, they're making long-term deals for young men, young people who have no experience in the Premier League. I know it must be exciting to be a Chelsea fan with all of these signings. I would not be excited. I'd be worried because you're spending a lot of money on players who I don't think are going to be any good. Uh, yeah, yeah, poor season, and I think the best way to fix this, sign some veterans who know what they're doing and fix your season like that on with loan moves. But obviously they haven't done that. The transfer window is now closed, so it's too late for that. I just think Chelsea need to fix their shit, and the way to do that, in my opinion, was not to sign young people to eight-year contracts who could very well be flops and basically be the Nottingham Forest of the top half by what signing. They have what 30 players, 31st team players. They sign these players to combat an injury crisis. What happens when those players who return from injury? It creates what 15 players who should be playing on the bench, and I mean, hey, there's only so many players you can play in one match. So, I don't know, ridiculous transfer strategy to me at least, but that's as an outside fan. Chelsea fans, maybe let me know why you think this is going to succeed. I just don't see it. Liverpool, I can't even explain this one, honestly. They're just bad. It's Klopp's seventh season. I think that might be a curse or something, but oh my god, Liverpool are bad this season. 3-0 spanking to Wolves recently, and we just witnessed a match day where Man United won, Manchester City lost, Arsenal lost, and Liverpool lost. So you can see why I'm recording this Premier League episode right now. Obviously a recent draw to Liverpool, 2-3 to Chelsea, 2-3-0 losses to Brighton and Wolves, a 3-1 loss to Brentford. And this is the team that genuinely, first of all, Darwin Nunes, funny. This is a team that does not have any inspiration at the moment. It's a team where what Darwin Nunes, Mohamed Salah is a shell of the former player he was. I'm hoping that's just this season because that apart from all the other Liverpool players, I actually like Mohamed Salah. Cody Gakpo hasn't had much of an impact so far. Naby Keita, their midfield is mid field. Get it? Alexander Arnold having a shocker of a season. Virgil van Dijk, I believe he's out with injury. He's been out with injury for a bit. And Joel Matip and Joe Gomez aren't the players they were 2 years ago. Alisson Becker has been fine, but not good enough, and definitely not the Alisson of 2 years ago. Andy Robertson's also been mid. Ooh, uh, look, I kind of feel bad, but I also really don't feel bad. I just think Liverpool need a bit of inspiration. Obviously, do not sack Jurgen Klopp, whatever you do, and sign Steven Gerrard as a manager because that will not work. Speaking as a Manchester United fan, we sacked Jose Mourinho. We signed Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We failed. Don't do what we did. But yeah, Liverpool, they have Everton next, and I feel like if they lose the Merseyside derby, Liverpool fans will riot. So excited to see that game. And the bottom nine: Aston Villa, Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest, Leicester City, Wolves, and Leicester City Wolves, by the way, were the teams that finished sixth and seventh consistently for the last few years, are now 14th and 15th. Don't and West Ham are 16th, and normally they would be what seventh, eighth. Leicester City, Wolves, and West Ham are back to back to back, and this is three teams that instead of 14th, 15th, and 16th, I would have expected to be 6th, 7th, and 8th. Maybe not in that order, but still shocking. Everton, whew, fix yourself, boy. I think Everton would be a shame if they went down. They're kind of a staple of the Premier League. Merseyside derbies are always electric, and it's always fun to watch them. But I don't really have much to say about the bottom half of the league because I'm not really a fan. I'm not really that much of a fan to watch every single game and to be caught up with, I mean, what Bournemouth is doing because frankly, I don't care. I don't care. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the Premier League season so far? Been a ridiculous season, and I think let me make some quick predictions here. I think this top four is going to stay in the top four, apart from Newcastle, who I think on in the last few days slip up and allow Tottenham a berth. I think Arsenal are going to win the league. I think Manchester City are going to finish second, United third, and Tottenham in fourth. But it's going to be Arsenal's year this year. I don't see them slipping up. I think this is a good, really good team. And if I'm wrong, I hope Manchester City doesn't win. Oh yeah, we'll talk about the Manchester City allegations and all of that stuff, breaching financial fair play. Once more information comes out, if they get a points deduction, you can be damn sure we're gonna talk about it because Adi is a Manchester City fan and I'm a Man United fan, so that's just gonna be fun. And yeah, that was the Quirky Bootless Project. I know I talked a bit fast. I apologize. I'm realizing that now. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope uh, you comment and like uh, listen to more stuff. We're fun. And yeah, see you next week. Peace.